When new novels are released, there are always tons of cool little facts that don't really fit anywhere in a video of their own that I still think are really interesting and worth talking about. So here's a list of facts, small connections, references, and pieces of trivia from Phasma. Be aware that spoilers for the book are ahead. In the very first chapter, Leia mentions a race called the Five Sabers. This race was first created by author Delilah Dawson in her Canon short story called Scorched, which was a tie-in story with the novel Bloodline. Up until now, we only knew about one Resurgent-class Star Destroyer, the Finalizer. Well, now we know of a second, called the Absolution, where the First Order's youngest recruits were trained. Contact between the Resistance and the First Order is rare. When a Resistance spy named Vi is captured, she is blown away by their equipment, which reminded me of Poe's reaction to seeing the Finalizer. Vi wonders where they get their resources, which is a question many of us have, but we don't get any answers yet. The spear we see Phasma holding in The Last Jedi is likely a weapon she used on her homeworld of Parnassus. It's simply a metal spear with a bladed tip, but it's probably a very important weapon to her, one final link to her past. The new Stormtrooper Captain Cardinal, who wears red armor, is a rival of Phasma's. He trains the youngest Stormtrooper cadets, and when they graduate, they are sent to train under Phasma. Not all Stormtroopers were abducted or kidnapped. Many were recruited from miserable lives. The children that are kidnapped are rationalized by Cardinal as being for their own good. The First Order has nightly morale sessions where all members must view propaganda about the chaos, corruption, and terrorism that exists under the New Republic's rule. Phasma's first contact with the First Order was between 10 and 16 years before the events of The Force Awakens, when Brenda Hux, the father of General Hux, crashed on her planet. Brenda previously appeared in the Servants of the Empire series and the Aftermath trilogy. Most of the plot is about her mission to escort him back to his ship. She picked up the British accent we hear in the movie by imitating Hux until it became natural. Phasma and her people were sheltered on Parnassus, never leaving their territory. When they first encounter sand, Hux describes it as coarse and rough, irritating, gets everywhere. I wonder if Hux ever met Darth Vader, because they would have had a lot to talk about. Inside an old mining facility, Phasma scavenges and wears an old set of Mandalorian armor. I think it's unlikely it was Boba Fett's armor or anything like that, but I do think it's interesting that the last time we saw his armor, it was worn by Cobb Vanth, who opposed another mining company. Mining facilities like the one where Phasma found that armor were scattered across Parnassus, each of them specializing in different things like making clothing or food or medicine. It reminded me of the Dharma Initiative stations on Lost. One of the facilities was a nuclear power plant that had a meltdown and exploded nearly 200 years prior to the story. That explosion caused the downfall of Parnassus, and the mining company abandoned the survivors there. Brenda Hux also makes mention of nuclear weapons. Nuclear technology appeared in Star Wars Legends occasionally, but this is its first canon mention. The tradition of the Gand species states that they are not to leave their people. One member of the species is found on Parnassus, fearing he was being punished for breaking their laws. This also means that Zuckuss is living outside the rules of his own people. Phasma and her group pass an ancient roller coaster. Hux comments that amusement parks were archaic and from a time before proper stimulation could be provided in homes. The ship that Brindle crashed in is described as Palpatine's Naboo yacht. It's possible it could have been one of the Imperialis models seen in the Lando comic in the Aftermath trilogy, but that's unclear. After their rescue by the First Order, Phasma makes her Stormtrooper armor from the chrome hull of the ship. Phasma and Armitage Hux conspired to murder Brindle Hux together. That makes sense considering Brindle was physically and mentally abusive to Armitage when he was younger. Supreme Leader Snoke was the leader of the First Order before Phasma joined, so again, that would be at least 10 to 16 years before the events of The Force Awakens. Grand Admiral Rey Sloane is mentioned and noted that she, quote, isn't here. In the context of the conversation, I think she's likely dead at the time of this book, but it was probably left vague on purpose. Kylo Ren is also part of the First Order in the non-flashback parts of the book. We know Ben Solo didn't fall until at most 6 years before The Force Awakens, but that means that two of the First Order's most prominent symbolic figures are relatively new to the organization. The Cardinal is mentioned as a red bird in the Star Wars galaxy. I recently touched on this in a Q&A, but I think it's likely that falcons and hawks and any other animal referenced as a name in Star Wars also exist. Also, ducks. Phasma is compared to a leashed cathound at one point. Those creatures were from Dantooine and first appeared in the Legends game Knights of the Old Republic. This is their first canon mention. The First Order uses holographic droids to train their child soldiers, similar to Proxy in The Force Unleashed. Holographic droids are also seen in the canon Obi-Wan and Anakin comic. Phasma comments that she is skilled at shutting down cameras and erasing feeds. It sounds like she does a lot of assassination inside the First Order itself and knows how to hide her tracks. I think it's likely she could have easily removed any evidence of her treachery on Starkiller Base just in case any footage survived the explosion. Phasma's helmet includes prototype electronics not found in standard issue Stormtrooper helmets. She achieved the rank of captain less than 1 year after joining the First Order. We get a description of her unmasked face, and I guess it shouldn't be surprising that she looks like Gwendolyn Christie. I know that's something we all could have assumed, but the Vanity Fair article that accompanied a picture of the character without the mask did state that she would not appear exactly like that in The Last Jedi. At one point in the story, she did receive a pretty massive beating to the face, so it could be covered in scars. The description was basically blue eyes, pale skin, and blonde hair. That's it for random facts from Phasma. If you're interested in reading the book for yourself, you can check it out on Audible. The audiobook is out now, and you can get it for free by clicking on the link in the description or by going to www.audibletrial.com/Star Wars Explained. If you sign up for a trial, you'll get a credit for 1 free book, and you can use it on Phasma, or a number of other Star Wars books, or get any book you want. The point is, you get a free book, and you'll be supporting the channel when you do. If you caught any references or Easter eggs I missed, please feel free to leave them in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to see new Star Wars videos every single day, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out my Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.